All right, we're going to look at stem cells. So stem cells are like the roots to a tree or to a bush. And so you have these roots that every year establish themselves deeper and deeper and broader, more surface area both under the ground and as far as the area under the tree or the bush continues to grow as well. Like the base of that is getting broader and broader. So in cancer cases, and in many cancer cases, we know that stem cells or allow a recurrence of the cancer type because we don't necessarily chemotherapy and radiation don't necessarily always kill the cancer stem cells. And so even after you take the tumor off the top visibly and off of an ability to be able to see it on an MRI, then those will continue to grow there, and eventually they'll recur, they'll pop back up over the surface, they'll be big enough to be able to pick up on an MRI or by even visual or touch. And by that time, they'll have an even stronger root system than they did the first time. So a lot of times the progression is even faster, and the prognosis is, not as good for sure as it would be for a first time occurrence. So they found out that recently that gliomas have stem-like cells to them, and that by differentiating their DNA, by screwing with their DNA or not obscuring, there's another word for it, I can't think of it right now, but basically by inhibiting the DEA to properly produce the next cell coming in, it's it to go out kind of thing, like the next little cancer cell to build the tumor up and up and up. We can inhibit that gliomagenesis, genesis meaning beginning or origin, and then glioma being a brain cancer cell. So the names on here, some of the names, if you want to take a screenshot, you can. But you'll see the names like Rafael Mechoulam, Guillermo Velasco, Manuel Guzman. Those guys are all involved in many other studies. So Guzman and Guillermo work together, and Mechoulam is behind most of the scientific discovery of cannabinoids and the endocannabinoids as well. He's the one that found the endocannabinoids and named the first one anandamide. So we're just going to jump in here. I want to read some of this so you can kind of see what the paper is talking about whenever it talks about how cannabinoids can help a glioma from forming in the first place. So cannabinoid challenge, like the challenge that cannabinoids presents to the tumor cells, decrease the efficiency of glioma stem-like cells to initiate glioma formation, a finding that correlated with decreased neurosphere formation and cell proliferation. Cannabinoids target glioma stem-like cells, promote their differentiation, and inhibit gliomagenesis, thus giving further support to the potential use in the management of malignant gliomas. So, basically, it's showing that they can stop proliferation, which is what I was just talking about, for a cell to go to another cell and another one, and they just keep dividing out, and it proliferates, and from a small tumor to a huge tumor, and then eventually metastatic if it ends up breaking off and migrating and invading and all that kind of stuff. So the next line is interesting because it's also many other studies that I've looked at or gone over in different videos contain this same type of statement that cannabinoid-based drugs may represent an alternative to their other established chemotherapeutics. So here it says an alternative. Other ones say it can be used in conjunction with. So significant antitumoral action of cannabinoid and cannabinoid ligands and all that kind of stuff. But cannabinoid administration curbs the growth of different tumors, including gliomas, lung adenocarcinomas, thyroid epitheliomas, lymphomas, and skin carcinomas. The antitumoral action on gliomas relies on at least two mechanisms, and this is pretty much how it relies on all those other ones as well: induction of apoptosis of tumor cells and inhibition of tumor angiogenesis. So the induction of apoptosis takes place with THC binding to the CB1 receptor found on cancer cells, and so it doesn't produce apoptosis in healthy cells. CBD, THC are all cellular, cytotoxic, protective, all that kind of stuff. Keeps the cells from being damaged by both radiation and chemotherapy. It says that cannabinoid-treated GSCs, which is the glioma stem-like cells, generated tumors with lower growth rate, including or resulting in smaller tumor size. So if you can slow the tumor growth rate down while you're trying to figure out the plan for that patient, the plan of of action for that patient's condition, then that's optimal. That is awesome because you can slow it down and you can have a smaller tumor size over time so that the amount of chemotherapy, the amount of radiation, or the size of the insection to be able to get in there and pull everything out is far less. If you start them out right away, first line treatment with cannabinoids, while you're doing all the other stuff. So decrease forming and reduce cell proliferation. Okay, that GCS next line there was saying that. And then down a little bit more, the recent discovery of brain stem cells has important implications. And of course, cannabinoids being able to inhibit those has far greater implications. So cannabinoid agonists target the stem-like cell compartment of the brain tumors, promote GCS differentiation in a receptor-dependent manner, and reduce gliomagenesis. So an agonist is the opposite of an antagonist, which means that the cannabinoid agonist turns on the receptor. It activates the receptor. It works with the receptor. The receptor can receive it like a lock to a key, or a key to a lock. Let me see. Okay, so it says in a dose-dependent, and earlier I know that it's dose and duration dependent as far as the activation of the agonist on the CB1 receptor, which would be the cannabinoids. Let's see. The existence of brain tumor initiating cell phenotypes with stem cell features may lead to in the future to a potential therapeutic strategies based on enforced stem cell differentiation aimed at decreasing brain tumor initiating ability. Whew. Excuse me, that was a lot. So now that we know that there are stem cells, it can lead to future therapeutic strategies to focus on the stem cells and focus on differentiating the DNA of those cells in order to decrease the initiation or the genesis of gliomas. Step over here. The action of cannabinoids on glioma stem-like cells thus may... In conclusion, our results demonstrate the action of cannabinoids on glioma stem-like cells and thus may open a new alternatives for cannabinoid-based antitumoral strategies. Glioma stem-like cells express CB receptors, cannabinoid receptors. So that's also over here. It has to do with, what did it say? Something about differentiation based in forced stem cell differentiation. One of these, basically, it was talking about the ability or how many receptors. It was receptor dependent also. So if there weren't as many receptors, it wouldn't have as much apoptosis. And we know that with prostate cancer, the prostate already has cannabinoid receptor CB1. And whenever it becomes cancerous, the expression of the CB1 receptors goes up. So you have far more CB1 receptors once the cancer has been detected by the immune system. And then that basically is like a flower opening up, just waiting for the pollen. And so it's just there and holding and waiting for the anandamide to be able to attach to it to kill it. But since THC mimics anandamide in the body, that's why we're able to use exogenous cannabinoids, THC, in order to treat tumors and various other diseases that our endogenous cannabinoid system, our ECS, normally functions with. Let's see. Basically, the title right here: cannabinoids inhibit gliomagenesis initiated by glioma stem cells. Stem-like cells are considered the initiating cell population of tumorigenesis. So this is basically just saying what I had said earlier, that all tumors are, as far as I'm aware, all tumors have or start with a small cell population that you can't detect, that eventually you will find the tumor there and in that location wherever they're growing. And so this is basically, the paper is all about aiming at differentiation prior to or inhibiting it before it even happens. So like the inhibit of the genesis of it. And in the patent it talks about preventative and prophylactic abilities of cannabinoids for people with certain conditions, and I would definitely encourage this type of thought whenever we move into cancer syndromes and various other long-term chronic conditions that people would have, specifically genetic for sure, because if you know you have the genes, you just start out young. Let's see next. Okay, yeah, cannabinoids promote neural differentiation in glioma stem cells. And after that, it'll say it's not. So, or I mean, it protects the other ones. Cannabinoids inhibit glioma stem cell initiation or initiated gliomagenesis. So, I mean, it's kind of just starting to become repeating. That's why I wanted to get all these quotes so that people could see the different ways that they make the same exact point. And then this is like the final findings or whatever. Cannabinoids are known to exert antitumoral action against gliomas, an effect that has been extended to a variety of tumors in different origins. In addition to inducing apoptosis in differentiated transformed cells, cannabinoids that's not even a word, I don't know what they're trying to say, promote differentiation of GCSs and inhibit tumoral initiation. Somebody messed up in the spelling in these words here because they're not real words. Promotes differentiation. So the Journal of Biological Chemistry, this was out in 2007. Again, the names on here are well known. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about? Well, it does point specifically to apoptosis and what's the other? Oh, antiangiogenesis. So apoptosis, again, I had mentioned it, how it works as far as inducing cell death by THC and CB1 activation, CB1 receptor activation. But I didn't touch on angiogenesis or antiangiogenesis. So angiogenesis is a process by which tumors send out signals to form blood vessels that they can use to get more food, and therefore they start growing faster. If you can inhibit angiogenesis, the tumors won't grow. And so that's the whole point also of, there's a website called Eating to Beat Cancer. Dr. William Lee, you can YouTube him, Eating to Beat. So if you have cancer in your family, you can just be on an anti-cancer diet. I've been working on that, and eat anti-cancer foods as much as possible. So, yeah, all this is not just about treating stem cells, even after you've been treated already, to be able to go in afterwards and have somebody on a consistent, would it be maintenance dose? But for those who are in a vulnerable population for gliomagenesis, that this could be used throughout their lifetime once we know that they have dispositions towards that. So anyway, wanted to get this out there. Love you guys, and it took me several times to do this one, and even in this one I messed up. So this is an exceptionally long video as opposed to the others, but enjoy and share the channel. This is all about education. All right, love y'all.